I've been on both sides of life. I've been on I've been on the bad side of life, and I've been on the good side of life. I've I had a troubled childhood, troubled past. I've been locked up a couple of times.
You want to elaborate on that as far as incarceration, or?
Sure. Yeah. So the first big incarceration that I had was I was arrested by the U.S. Secret Service. They kicked in my door with a SWAT team because I was making counterfeit money. I had an addiction I was feeding, and it was drugs. I I learned that there was a way to numb myself from dealing with all the pain and abuse that I had endured, and regretfully, that came through drugs. I was able to just escape.
I mean, what took place in that very moment to make you stop doing your art to, substance abuse?
I can remember the first time that I got high. This is after I had also picked up music. A friend of mine was in a bad car accident. He broke his back, his neck, almost died. But he got pain medicine for years. And he got to the point where he was abusing them. And I would see him and other friends doing them and how they were acting, just having fun. And I kind of felt like the odd man out because I wasn't doing it. And I finally was like, give me a couple. He's like, no. What do you mean, no? Just give me a couple. And of course, I was acting like I knew what I was doing, you know what I'm saying? Like I was in control. But he ended up giving me a couple. And that night was, it was fun that night because I was with my friends and we were just all kind of feeling the same thing. Not a care in the world. Every care that I had was just on the back burner. I was living in the moment, you know. I didn't have responsibilities on my mind. I didn't have any cares at all. And even the first time that I did it, I didn't realize that that's what it was doing for me. So after a couple more times of hanging out with friends and so-called partying, I got to noticing every time I do this, man, I don't think about all the bad stuff. I don't have to worry about it. I like that. I don't have to think about my abusive father. Anybody that knows that's been in that situation that knows that it's never really an escape. You're just running to another trap. So after a while, that just kind of takes hold of you, and nobody that's ever been through that will understand. It physically takes hold of you to where if you don't have it, you hurt. Your body hurts. Your stomach cramps. You're nauseous. You're sick. You got cold sweats. And that's just the physical aspect of it. That's not the mental and emotional aspect of it. So the only way to fix that quickly is to do it again. So that's how it starts that whole cycle. And that's what led to me making the counterfeit money. I knew a drug dealer that also worked at a store that was a cashier. And I told her, I didn't like lie to her. I told her, I was like, listen, I've got such and such amount of this fake money that looks real that I will trade you for a smaller amount. And you can just take it in and pass it off a little bit at a time. But she ended up getting in trouble, and she got caught with some of the bills. And instead of going down for a long time, she made a deal with him. She said, you know, I guess if you'll kind of cut me some slack, I'll tell you where this came from. And she ended up driving the Secret Service agent to my house. So that was the first big case that I had. I've had 3. The other 2 I kind of got at the same time. One of them was failure to pay child support. So anybody that, like I said, when you're high and you're on drugs, all your responsibilities and everything just on the back burner, you don't care. You're escaping all your responsibilities. So of course my child support wasn't getting paid. So then instead of making counterfeit money because, hey, I got in trouble for that, I'm not going to do that again. Well, I'll just sell drugs. So I started doing that. And then as I was doing that, I was only doing it to feed my own habit. I wasn't trying to get rich from it. Wasn't trying to be a big thug, gangster, nothing like that. I was just feeding my own habit. But what we don't understand when we do that is we are putting other people's lives at risk. And the stuff that I was selling had fentanyl in it. And like I said, when I first got arrested, I had the convict's mentality. Man, I'm going to hurt these people. I'm going to hurt them when I get out. I'm going to hurt them. But then, while I was in there, God found me. So I changed my whole outlook on it. And then I started thinking, and I know some people will be cliche and say, well, I'm glad I got caught. It saved my life. I'm really glad I got caught because I was selling people death. And I'm lucky that nobody died and that I didn't catch a murder case. So then I changed my outlook on things, and I was just like, I don't agree with people so-called snitching on people. I still don't agree with that, because if you're going to do something to get in trouble, be a man or a woman about it and do your time for your actions. Don't try to get somebody else in trouble just to get out of your responsibilities for what you've done to people. But I am glad that the informant got me. Come to find out, the reason I was so mad is the reason that these people turned informant is because they got pulled over and they had some drugs on them and they got arrested for possession. They were literally going to do maybe 2 weeks in jail, but they couldn't do that. So they agreed to wear wires on people. And like I said, it's a double-edged sword. I don't agree with you doing that, but at the same time, I'm glad you did it to me. So instead of me wanting to hurt these people, I now pray for them. And I hope that them telling on me got them out of enough trouble that they can turn their lives around and do good. I hope that worked out for them in that way. And I actually ran into one of them at a restaurant one day.
How'd that make you feel? What was that moment like?
It was intense because, like I said, I come up in a hardcore life where I was in and out, and I had that convict mentality, but I was trying so hard to get away from that life. And my fiance was with me, and this girl's never been around drugs. She's never been in trouble a day in her life. So I never wanted her to see that old me, you know what I'm saying? And the guy, his first name was Tyler, and he's dead now. He ended up relapsing and dying. I pray for him. But he came up to me, and he's like, "Hey, man, what's up?" Want to shake my hand? I said, "Tyler, don't, man." He's like, "What do you mean?" I said, "Tyler, come on, man, don't." He said, "Dude, what are you talking about?" And I just told him, I said, "Listen, Tyler, I don't live that life anymore, so I'm going to let it go." I said, "But for you to sit there and play stupid with me, it's really making me upset." I said, "So I'm going to ask you to just get away from me. Go sit down with your friends and family and eat, and just don't talk to me now, okay?" And he's like, "Man, I don't know what you're talking about." I said, "Dude, I've got my paperwork. You're right there. I seen it with my own eyes." He's like, "Okay, man." I said, "So please, just get away from me. I don't want to go back to that." And I seen him a little while after that, and I actually did shake his hand. And I told him, I said, "I don't agree with what you did. I'm glad you did it." I said, "We can't be friends anymore unless you're living right. That's the only way we could ever be friends." And then we just kind of parted ways. Didn't talk anymore after that. And I learned like a few months later that his new wife had found him dead from an overdose. So
What ran through your mind at that moment when you found that out?
I prayed for him. I prayed for his family. Because I know how bad that demon can be, how manipulative that monster can be, and it can make people do some really messed up things, even though I don't agree with it. It made me hurt people. It made me do horrible things that I would never do. So I understand. And then another similar story. Back when I was selling drugs, this guy had ripped me off for a measly $25, which that's no reason to get upset. I mean, it get upset, but not too upset. You know what I'm saying? But what really got to me is after he did it, he was going around telling people, "Oh, I got over on him. He ain't gonna do nothing. He can't do nothing. This and that." It kind of set me off. So every time I seen this guy, I would smack him. And I felt bad when I did it. But the fact that I was showing everybody else, "Hey, you're not going to do this to me," kind of made me feel like it's what I had to do.
So it was more like would you say it was kind of like, you being concerned about your reputation as well, or?
Yeah.
You know?
And I actually ended up going to a party and seeing that guy there. And he came up to me, he was drunk, and he come up to me and he was talking to me. He's like, "Hey, we need to talk and this and that." And I was like, "I'm not here to talk to you right now. I'm here to handle some business." And he kept on and he kept on. And finally, we ended up getting into it, and I knocked 2 of his front teeth out and knocked him out. And I drug him outside and I laid him in the yard, and I gave him one of his teeth back and I kept the other one. And I saw him after I turned my life around. I saw him last year and a half ago at a store, and he looked horrible. I could tell that he was back in that life. He was using. He looked awful. And as I was over at the lottery ticket machine, he comes over to me and he's like, "Hey, Jason, what's up, buddy?" "What's up, buddy?" He said, you know you messed my life up, man. I said, Brandon, I'm sorry, buddy. I said, I don't live that life anymore. He said, you hurt me. And I told him, I said, man, I don't live that life anymore. I'm sorry. I said, if there's anything I can do to help you out, let me know. And like most addicts do that are in addiction, active addiction, he's like, well, I do need some help. I don't have any money. I'm not gonna give you money, man. I said, I'll take you and feed you. I'll buy you some clothes. I'm not gonna give you money because I know what you're gonna do with it. And I don't know, I just that kind of. At that moment, he held a mirror up to my face of what I was, and it made me sick in my stomach. So I took him, I fed him that day, and then I took him home. I dropped him off at his house. I haven't seen him since. I don't know how he's doing. Yeah, it was tough.